Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Tactical Baby Gear podcast. My name is Beav Brody, and in this episode, Alex's wife leaves town and leaves him stranded at home by himself. So he's struggling with nighttime bed changes and potty training and all the things there. We also talk about instilling some confidence in your kids and telling them that it's okay to say no, amongst several other things. It gets much better along the way. It's a little slow moving in the beginning, I'll be completely honest, but things get really good as it goes. So stay tuned, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Why don't eggs tell jokes?
It has something to do with yolks.
They'd crack each other up.
You're a picky eater. Do you eat eggs, I guess?
Yeah.
You do eat eggs?
Yeah.
Just not pickles? Nothing green?
What the hell's eggs and pickles got to do with anything?
We're going down the list.
Eggs aren't green.
Well, green eggs and ham. Come on.
That's some Dr. Seuss nonsense. When's the last time you had a green egg?
I don't know, but I think as I'm, reading more, I read a lot with my kids, but as I read more and more, and I haven't ventured into a lot of the Dr. Seuss, but once we enter into green eggs and ham, I'm gonna have to find some dye or something when I go to make the eggs, just to see what they'll do.
All right, and here we are.
How are you this morning?
I'm great.
You're great.
I'm great. It's Friday.
Well rested.
I feel well rested. I had a little nap the other day. I was telling these guys everyone's and the allergy situation here.
It's ridiculous.
The
January
temperature changes. It's like January, but
it's April.
Pollen out. Everyone's dying. No one knows what's happening. And
because usually get to the buffer months of let me build up my allergy medication and everything else. Yeah. But it was it went from our cold. Well, let's be real, our cold to then 50 degrees to 80 for about 2 weeks straight. And all the plants are cool, it's spring.
It's time to bloom.
And they all did it at the same time. I'm literally taking my car through the car wash, and it's yellow in January.
Yeah.
And I can barely see because my eyes are blurry from the allergies. Oh, man, it's been a wreck.
I know.
My kids apparently are starting to have allergies too.
Really?
Yeah.
I was dealing with all that stuff, the Vegas and back and all the climate changes.
We ran up to the warehouse.
And then we were in North Carolina.
Yeah, doing a little bit of traveling. You are, at least.
Dying. And then I took a nap at 6 o'clock the other night, and I had to get up at 7 to go pick up Cameron from gymnastics. But after that 1 hour nap, I felt like $1 million.
Now, can you nap that late and still go to bed?
Oh, yeah.
Nah, see,
I mean, a lot of times I'll have trouble, but I stay up so late anyways. And I usually just kind of stay awake and work or do things or, reply to DMs or whatever until I just pass out. So
just burn it down
and pass out. You could come stab me in the leg at that point and I'd still probably be asleep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Once my hamster gets on that wheel, if I'm worked a little too late, it takes me a good hour after that. So I've been trying to cut out mine.
Run down. I don't usually take a nap like that either. If I'm taking a nap like that, my body needs it.
No, I took the first, I say nap. It was about 15 minutes, which is a long time for me with all the kids. This past weekend, literally it was Saturday, they were down for their nap, even though the older ones weren't sleeping. And I laid on the couch. I was doing some work and I couldn't even keep my eyes open. Just, the blurriness, the allergies. And I was I got to shut my eyes. And it was about 15 minutes, woke up, felt like absolute doo-doo because it wasn't long enough. But, yeah, I'm just hopefully my medication's catching up so I can feel at least
a human again.
And then hopefully I can get my kids to sleep again. And then I might feel not tired.
So you haven't been getting any sleep still?
It's been hit or miss. So last week we talked about the little, we'll call it a water trick that I've been doing, which was, so we took away the nighttime diapers for the 3.5-year-olds. One kid's picked it up really well. The other one, it's really hit or miss on if he has an accident. So what we've been doing is I'm calling it the dream pee. How you get the dream fee if you're nursing, it's the dream pee. So he wakes up and talks, but he doesn't remember it the next day. Mm-hmm. But I'll get a glass of warm water. I'll put him on the potty. He kind of fights me a little bit. I'll pour water down. on his area, help stimulate and have him go to the bathroom. So I did that last night. I'm on dad duty by myself. The wife's out of town for about three nights, 4 days. So last night I was doing it, by myself. Got him to go. It's perfect. Put him back in bed. It's about 10 o'clock. And disastrous night, just all night. But as it relates to this part, what I'm getting at is that he ended up peeing the bed at 4:30 this morning. And I'm like, what is happening? So he's done this 2 nights in a row, but the week prior he had like 5 days without anything. So it's like, all right, like what's happening? But unfortunately, what's been happening with him is when he wakes up, the twins are in the same room. The other one's been waking up, and I'm changing the sheets. I'm changing him out of his pajamas. And for whatever reason, Max is the one who's seems to have the potty training down. Nico, not so much. Max like loses his marbles over the fact that Nico's changing out of pajamas. Like my kids are literally like,
fair.
Well, no, it's like, oh, if Nico's wearing the puppy pajamas, I wear the dinosaur pajamas. If Nico wears the bear pajamas, then I wear the bicycle pajamas. Like, it's like he's got some OCD click.
Well, he must be your child.
True. So I can't really fault him for that. But so he'll start losing his just, what, over the fact that Nico's getting some new pajamas. And I'm like, dude, it's 4 a.m. Like, get in bed. And this is, day 2 of this same sort of not last night, the night before, we literally had an hour and a half tantrum. From 3 to 4:30.
That's the worst.
And there's nothing you can do. You're just trying to you're not trying to just all right, how do I try to keep patience, which I have absolutely none at those hours.
Yeah.
Especially on day 2, because I know my kids are smart enough. And it's like, I know he's now awake because he's having full sentence conversations with me. So it's not like I'm yelling at this kid who's kind of asleep and doesn't actually know what his actions are doing. It's like, you're communicating with me. And so I'm like, yes, okay, we'll change, or you don't need to, we don't need to change your pajamas. He's wearing the same pajamas, just clean ones now. And it's just at that point,
shut up and go to sleep.
Last night I just, cause the wife usually tames my temper. But last night, since I was by myself, I went full Alejandro. Just, you are getting in your bed, because I never raised my voice to my kids, and thankfully it seemed to kind of cut through the BS and the half asleepness, because they you could tell I got their attention just because I never yell, but it was just now let me lead it up. So we did the dream pee at 10. One kid fell out of bed because we're, we don't bumpers on it. So he just turned backwards and did a head over head flip. Actually, let's see if we can get the clip. It's hilarious. I feel bad for him because I was like, I'm glad you didn't break your neck. I'm laughing now that you're not not injured. But so he falls out of bed at midnight. So he's all crazy. So I pick him up, put him back into bed. Then it was an hour later, he woke up saying he needed to pee, so I tried to take him to go pee. He didn't pee, so now I'm fighting him, and I'm like, well, if you're already up, I'm going to make sure you go pee, because I don't want to wake up an hour later, or I don't want to change, dirty sheets. So I'm pouring water on this kid, because I've never done this. So I'm like, you are going to go to the bathroom, and he's fighting me and everything else, and finally it's just fine, just go. Then he wakes up 30 minutes later because, I was pouring water on him. I had water on my hands when I picked him up, so his pajamas were just damp on the outside. He's like, oh, my pants are wet. I need new pajamas. I'm like, you're getting in your bed, not doing this. And then it was I finally slept for 2 hours, thereabouts, and then peed sheets with the other kid. So I'm thinking tonight I'm probably just going to have to separate them. They're not going to like it, but Daddy's got to drop the hammer. Daddy needs to sleep.
At least tomorrow's Saturday, and it's not like you got to get up first thing in the morning and do anything.
Yeah, but we don't do screen time and stuff, which being able to turn on a TV sometimes and just be able to go about getting, cleaning up the kitchen from breakfast and everything else makes it certainly a lot easier. we don't do that. So it's just it's a burden I've put on myself. And they do well playing by themselves, but if they're up at today, they're partying at. Thankfully, it was 6:45 because they were up so early. The day before was like 6:15. The day before that was like 5:45. The point being, depending on what time they get up, if they're already hung out in the house for 3 hours, like you just got to get them out of the house. So it's like 8:45 or 9 o'clock. You got to be going somewhere anyways. So it's like most people are just waking up, and it's like, nope. We've already had our 3 hours in the house. Now we got to go somewhere.
We're bored with this.
Yep. So
we got a real thing.
Yeah, it's
like that. That's frustrating. It's like you think you have everything at home. In some cases, we're like, there's no reason to leave. Like we got all this stuff. There's things for the kids to do. We've got a trampoline or a swing set or a this or that. You're like, why do we have to go somewhere and play on a different playground? Like
it's the same slide.
The kids just, it doesn't stimulate them. They just get bored with it and all this stuff where, or when it's raining and they can't go outside and you're stuck inside. You're like, there's only so much you can do to entertain them inside for a while. And then you're like, I guess we're just going out in the rain. Like jump in the car.
I don't know how people do it up north. Like, God bless. Like not only one, I don't know how y'all, all right, I'm going to put this jacket on to go to the car. Then I got to take it off to get you in the car seat. And then I got to put it back on to get you out of the car. And oh, by the way, it's still cold and maybe it's snowing, maybe it's not. And then you have like, if you've got a range of kids like me, all right, the youngest one can walk. But if we're in a parking lot, I want to just kind of hold them until I can get to a shopping cart. The older ones can hold my hand. But then I'll put, like if we were up north, it'd be like, all right, get out of the car, put on your jackets. I'm like, oh, I couldn't do it.
No,
like I'm getting hives just thinking about that right now. Literally, I'm starting to like, I'm starting to like sweat just thinking about the fact that I couldn't handle that.
It's crazy.
So the point being is like, but cabin fever, like, all right, it's 20 degrees outside. We're not really going to the park.
Mm-hmm.
Month 4. Like, what is this? It's like you need to like do the captain's log there for like, all right, it's been this 3 months of winter. Kids have been in the house for, oh God, I don't know how you do that. Especially if you're in the city too. Like if you're limited on space, like, I mean, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess it's all what your kids get used to too.
Like
if they've grown up with it. Yeah, that's just your life, I guess. That's the normal. Then, from my outsider's perspective, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people just actually leave their house, though.
Fair enough.
Alex has a bat cave. He just goes there and never comes back.
It's true. It's true.
We spend a lot of time outside the house. I feel like we're never home, mainly because the kids are like at gymnastics or this or that, or then I'm trying to do something. So I'm like loading the kids up and we're going to Lowe's to get something to do something at the house. Yay.
We bounce around, but again, my kids aren't quite, I guess I could have them in some sports and everything else, but there'll be plenty of time for that once they 4, 5, 6, 7. So
I mean, you've got the twins and then you got Anders and then Emily's pregnant, so you just spread thin all over the place. So like signing him up for a sport where you have to be there.
Well, that's what the thing is too. Is
Thursday
I would hate
for practice, and then there's
I wouldn't want to be like
on Saturdays, and then
half-ass into it. Where it's like, all right, well, my kids aren't going to go to practice. Like you got to do it twice a week. We'll be there maybe once, and then maybe we'll show up to some games. Like either you're committed or not. Because I also want to set the tone for my kids. If I'm going to sign them up, we follow through.
Right.
Oh, I don't feel like practicing today. Well, we committed.
Mm-hmm. I've been dealing with that with Kendall lately with gymnastics. She like Cameron's all in 150% into gymnastics. Like that's her life. And that's awesome. And she's great at it. Kendall started doing gymnastics at one point, left gymnastics and decided she wanted to do dance. We're like, all right, well, you're not really that good at gymnastics anyway. So like, we'll try dance. Like she was so young. It's like, let's just let her try things until she finds what she's into. And she did dance for a while. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do gymnastics. I'm like, hold on now. We're not playing. Like now it's like, all right, we're not just going to start bouncing back and forth. Like if you sign up for gymnastics again, like you're doing gymnastics for a while. It's not a month and you're going to switch and change your mind again. Anyway, so she's been in gymnastics for a while. She's been doing well with it. But recently she's been playing I don't want to do gymnastics anymore, And I've had to sit down and talk with her. And then she got kind of off the hook when Brandy and I were out of town in Vegas for SHOT Show. My mom had the kids. And we were just like, yeah, don't worry about taking them gymnastics. You got enough on your plate.
The babysitters
like,
don't need to be running around
5 days a week back and forth gymnastics. I was like, listen, Kendall, like you don't have to go to gymnastics next week because you're going to be at grandma's house and you'll have the whole week off. So you get a week off of gymnastics, but you're back to gymnastics. And she's still wishy-washy on it. But like one day she'll be excited about it and the next day she's not. So who knows how that'll play out, but I keep holding her to it.
Yeah. Well, again, if she said she wanted to do it, you got to at least commit to some time frame.
Right.
And just find the balance right? Where it's like after 3 months, if if the kid's just super not into it, they're 6, right? So like, let's transition to something else.
Yeah. And money.
Yep. But at the same token, you got to still like, well, if you commit to something, you gotta see it through.
Right.
My thing was just with anything is like,
so it's not like there's seasons where it's like baseball or soccer where you're like, all right. I mean, they have the competition season in the fall, but like she's not in that world yet.
So it's more like, you just as you progress, you kind of just keep progressing. But if you stop, you just stop.
Yeah, I mean, if she kept through with it now, she could compete in the fall. That would be like her first competition season, and we'll see if she makes it that far. Yeah, but I'm not like.
Not gonna just push
at this point. I'm not pushing it to be like, well, you got competitions in the fall, like that's a year away.
Yeah,
I'm like,
see what happens.
See how the next few months go. But yeah, they get wishy-washy, and we did soccer for a while too. Cameron did. I think she did 2 seasons of soccer, if I remember right. The first season was a disaster because she's like 3, and it's like a bunch of 3-year-olds running like a swarm of bees around a ball, and they're just like there's like 3 kids on the field that are smart enough to like kick the soccer ball. It's like
the 3 kids who have an older brother or sister, right?
And then the rest of them are just chasing each other because someone's chasing the ball, and then they're just chasing the other person. They don't care about the ball. Yeah. It's hilarious.
We signed the twins,
and then they start running the wrong directions, and it's comical.
They not my boys. It's like they seem interested in it, but yet. When I got them in the group setting, they kind of just weren't into it at all.
Well, it's intimidating.
But
they're on this field.
So
there's a
bunch of other kids,
happens. And there's you got to run towards the goal, and there's people screaming at you to do this and do that. Da, da, da.
I think it'll be a big difference because there'll be 4 right before the summer. This summer, obviously, the 4th baby will come. But then in the fall, they'll have that much. They'll be that much older, and I think we'll probably sign them up for something and see how it goes.
Well, they'll be great at basketball, I'm sure.
all 2 feet nothing, 3 feet nothing, whatever they are. We do not have the height gene in this family. I'm about to have a basketball team, but I don't think we'll be playing. I don't think we'll encourage whatever they want.
Esports basketball team.
We'll play basketball until kids start hitting puberty, and then might have to cut our losses there. When those kids go from like all being, the same height to then you got these kids that jump up 2 feet. You're like, well, your
basketball career just ended.
Exactly.
So, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Unless
you got the ball boy.
Unless you're quick and got an amazing three
point.
Or even but anyways, I never got into basketball.
Yeah. I enjoyed basketball. I played baseball a lot.
Yeah. I did baseball and soccer, traded off until I think it was end of middle school, and then high school is just full soccer.
I didn't do any sports
year round
in high school. What was I doing? I was working and like skating and playing with cars. It
was like reflecting on it now. I've got mixed feelings because it was great at the time, but made a lot of good friends. But now part of me is like, man, I could have, if I would have been working, making some money, we'll stockpile that, man. But
you can't get those years back playing soccer and doing all that. No. It's not like you could do it now easily.
No.
You know what I mean?
Some people, like my brother played in a adult league for a while before his kids. And he's always like, yeah, you should come play or whatever else. I'm like, I'm seeing these like older guys like
Torn
they can't
ACLs.
walk and a torn ACL. I'm like, I ain't got time for that. Yeah. I'll go exercise, stay fit, try to eat right, but I ain't trying to hurt myself. I like the camaraderie of like, playing on sports teams
Dan
and everything
Jansen
else.
And those guys like play softball, and they're like,
but that's, but even that, I'm like, God bless people that can. I guess it's all in how you manage your time, right? Like you set aside certain times for certain things. I set aside, just different priorities or whatever. But like, I guess I'm in a completely different stage of life with how many kids I have. But like, I couldn't imagine.
We have a lot of other things on our plate because of, and we've made that bet, right? We own a business, and there's a lot of things that we have to do, and there's a lot of things on our plate, and things that have to get done that aren't going to get done if we don't do it. And we have big ambitions and all this stuff versus, like Dan and Jansen, who I just referenced, who work at banks and like they go in at 9, they leave at 5. Their job is done for the day, which means they can go on Thursday to softball practice, and then next week, Friday, they've got a game, and like, they get their kids and they have time. They make their priorities for that. But it's like
work hard during their hours, but
5 or 6 hours a week where they play softball and have buddy time, and that's their outlet.
Good for them. Yeah.
Like, I wish I had that at times, but I also like my business. So it's like,
there's trade-offs in life.
There is.
I don't regret any of my decisions to date.
I got none I regret. There's stuff that I wish never happened in a way, but they're also the same things that set me up to be where I am now. So I'm like,
that's what happened with both of our businesses.
It's a blessing in disguise that you can't recognize as a blessing until later in life. At the time, you're like, this is the worst. This should never happen. Da, da, da. But they turn out to be some of the best things that have ever happened. So,
it's like, no one wants to touch a hot stove, but you realize it will burn you and you don't do it again, You gotta. Sometimes you just gotta learn that lesson, or hopefully take something away from it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's good stuff. There's bad stuff, but they're all learning points. That
That's been the hardest thing with the kids, though.
Stepping stones to get you to where you need to go.
You're like, all right, are they old enough now to do said task? And it's like, can you help me unload the dishwasher? And you're like, all right, don't break a plate. But yet, I want them to learn about chores in the house. So you're like, all right, can you please pick that up and hand it to me? 2 hands. Hey, thank you. All right, don't stop. All right, 2 hands. So
I don't
but
think my
all of a
kids
sudden,
have ever broken a dish. Now that you mentioned that.
Now you just set yourself up.
Like maybe.
But it's like this task that I do in 5 minutes. You're like 30 minutes into it. You're like, oh my gosh, hand me the coffee mug. Don't break it.
That. Listen, I've talked about that on Instagram stories before, and I just talked about it the other day.
Oh yeah, with the cars.
Like there's certain things that you want to be able to do and include your kids in, right? And then there's times where you have to be in the right mindset to be able to accomplish that, because there's certain things that those tasks that would take you 5 minutes, like washing the car, unloading the dishwasher, or maintaining something, or vacuuming the car, or I'm trying to think of the things that have happened to me recently, but you're like, I could just do this in 5 minutes and be done with it. Or I could teach my kid how to do this, which is a valuable lesson in the long term of like, this is why you take care of things, or this is how you do this properly, or this is where the dishes go and why we put dishes away, and this is teaching you manners or whatever.
Right now it's even just transitioning to putting their shoes on. They got a Velcro, but it's like, all right, Dad will help you put your socks on. You need to put your shoes on, and then again, the hope right now really is what's encouraging all that right now more is like once you have the 4th child, it'll be like, all right, we're going out the door. You need to put your socks and shoes on. And
right.
Hopefully they've learned that.
But teaching them those things and being able to like put yourself in the right mindset and take a step back and say, hey, this 5-minute task is going to take me 30 minutes because I'm going to teach them how to do it for themselves. And then hopefully along the way, like they can be more helpful later, or you can just ask them to do it. But like you have got to set your head right for those moments of being not saying, I got this, get away. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't touch this. I got it. Because they don't learn anything from that. But it is hard to make that mind. But once you make that mind shift of like, hey, today I'm just sacrificing my time to take 3 times longer to do this because I'm going to teach them how to do it along the way. And it's going to be super frustrating at first, but then it usually ends up being fun. Like the stuff that I've done recently
depends on the activity, right? What's not fun is you're trying to get out the door to go to daycare, to go to church, to go to whatever. And it's like, put your shoes on. Let's help You're going to put your shoes on. You get distracted, squirrel kind of. I always, you're like, oh, like, can you like if I just put your shoes on for you, we would have left 10 minutes ago. But it's like I have to do this every day, every day. Actually, I just gotta. We were texting with the doctor this morning because I told the wife what happened last night, and I was like, man, like I need to work on. I need to work on my patience. So. Get in the right mindset at 4 a.m. that this is going to take forever. But how do you learn not to pee the bed? Well, you got to repetition.
Right.
Yelling at them probably isn't the best decision. But
we've all been there.
You just it is hard. But again, so like we texted the doctor and I was like, all right, so like the one kid's got it, the other one doesn't seem to have it. Is there something like here's what we're doing, like a dream pee and then the whole 9 yards? Like, are we missing something? And the doctor, thankfully, can take that step back because he's all, they're kind of always in the right mindset of like, well, no, you're doing it right. Just keep at it. You're like, that's right. You just got to keep at it, right? We need to leave to go to school, but you need to learn how to put your shoes on. I got to do this every day, 5 days a week. We got to keep at it.
My kids won't leave their shoes on. As soon as we get in the car, Kendall in particular, shoes come right off. I'm like, and then so like we'll like get your shoes on, we got to go somewhere. We get to that place, I go to open the door to get her out of the car, shoes are off. I'm like, why are your shoes off again? Put your shoes back on. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And your socks? Why are your socks under the seat? Get your socks back on. Put your shoe. What are we got things to do. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what in the world is happening?
She don't like that restriction?
I'm like,
girl. Does she kick her sandals off like during the summer?
Yes. Oh, and that always feet out, barefoot. Like shoes are on. We walk. We get in the car. I like before I can buckle her seatbelt. Well, they're off. I'm like, hey.
Well, that's another thing, right? Just teaching them to like buckle up, and then you're like, let me spot check that real quick. But that's
my kids are OCD. I've taught them how to buckle that seatbelt and like. I could be backing down the driveway, like if we're in a hurry to get somewhere, and I'm like, everyone's in the car. I'm like, get your seatbelt on. And we're like backing down the driveway, and they're freaking out, screaming, kicking, crying because they don't have their seatbelts on yet, and the car's moving. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're thinking like that, but like we're in a hurry, but like it'll be okay. But they better be on before we touch that mailbox, or whatever. I'm like, but
we've got a golf cart just to putz around our neighborhood in. And that's been the one thing. Like we have, you helped me install the seatbelts. It's like been trying to train them on that, just because I've heard too many stories, especially as it relates to even golf carts. Of like kids just falling off and hitting their heads,
because
or
everyone
adults
treats a golf cart like a toy,
like it's a toy. So it's like even that. So they go to stand up, and it's like slam on the brakes. Obviously not, and then be like, we're not moving until you sit down again. Just like that repetition.
Mm-hmm. So when we were kids, we're like bouncing around the car.
Yeah. Ridiculous. And then you take it even further, like our parents, that station wagon 10-hour trip, there wasn't a car seat. The baby was in the lap, in the front seat, no airbag.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a reason that we invented seatbelts. They do good.
Yeah. But, there was something. The big thing for me with the kids when I was when we bought the boat, and it was like, all right, we have a boat now. You guys want to take the boat out? We have to wash the boat when we're done. This is how we wash a boat. And then I was like, okay, I don't want you guys washing the boat because they take the brush and they would like, I got big long like broomstick poles with a brush on the end. Because it's a pontoon boat, and once it's up on the trailer, then it's really tall, and like so. Anyways, but they couldn't really hold them up. They're like full of soap and water, so they drop it on the ground, like in the dirt, and then pick it back up and start scrubbing the boat with a dirt covered. I'm like, no, and it's black, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, nah, stop.
You get in the boat, and here's a sponge, and just pretend like you're cleaning off the seats, or something, just to make sure they're doing a
something,
task, right?
Yeah. So then now they are stuck with interior duty because I can't. I'll die.
That's another
or
thing. Or
scrubbing the pontoon itself with like a hand brush. But like, I'm like, oh God.
Oh, but all the rules involved with that. Put your life jacket on. When we're moving, don't be getting up. Don't be walking around.
They're pretty good about that stuff, thankfully. But yeah, just setting those
getting in the mindset, because I think we've talked about it before. It's like I think you'll know what I'm talking about with the 4-wheeler incident.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, if you don't like having a boat, if you don't have a boat beforehand and then you have a boat, you got to realize, like, obviously the repetition of just explaining all these things because like they've never been exposed to it, so they don't know what they don't know, what's safe, what isn't safe. And so that just translates into just anything. It's like, well, you can't just hop on this 4-wheeler if you like if someone else says it's okay, but if you don't know, so it's like, how do you try to at least prepare them enough to realize that they're in a situation where it's new for them. It's like, well, ask an adult. Mm-hmm. What do you need to know or not know?
Well, the other side of that too is instilling things in them, because kids are like monkey see, monkey do, right? Like, well, so-and-so was doing it. I'm like, that doesn't make it okay for you to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's not okay. Yeah. But to the same point, they like monkey see, monkey do. They see you do something, they want to do it. They hear you say something, they're going to say it. Yep. And so you got to instill those things in them so that they know it's okay to not do what their friends are doing. Mm-hmm. That we had an instance of this recently that I'm trying to remember the exact situation, but it was the same sort of thing where it was like, well, so-and-so, I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's okay for you to not do it or say no, where I'm not allowed, or tell an adult, or I need to have a helmet on, I can't do that, or whatever the case is. Like, I got your back. Yeah. You're not going to be in trouble, but know that it's okay to not do that, or but instilling those kind of values in the kids, but like, then leading by example because of the same reason.
It's like, well, I wish the other kid was wearing a helmet riding that bike, but if his parents say it's okay, I'm going to say, well, you probably should have a helmet on, but you need to wear it.
Right.
And guess what's going to happen when that kid falls?
Oh yeah,
he's going to be in a lot of pain, and you won't. So, yeah, gotta instill enough confidence in them to be able to say no. I think that's one of my biggest concerns about rating me, if you would, on how good of a father figure I'm going to be, is as they get older, especially into the high school, into college, to where as they still are developing that frontal cortex. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And being impulsive.
You're using big words over there.
I can't say nip it in the bud or nip it in the butt, but occasionally we'll throw out them good.
It is nip it in the bud.
B-U-D?
Yeah.
Okay. In the context that I was saying it apparently
I guess.
last week.
I don't know. A few people DM'd me and corrected me and told me I was wrong. So what do I know?
I mean, we're coming from the person that...
has a book of Alexisms.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've talked about it before. It's like,
what's a classic?
It was like, everything's going to, what is it? Hell in a handbasket?
Hell in a handbag.
Or handbag, something to that effect. And if your kids are listening, just do a quick earmuffs on it. It was like, I say shit in a handbag once. And I was like, everything's going to shit in a handbag. And the wife looks at me and goes, that would be bad. That's not the expression, but that would be bad. I was like, yes, that would really ruin your day if that happened. But instilling enough to where, like, again, like, I mean, obviously, I believe I'm sure you had alcohol before you were legally 21, but it's like, how do you make sure that if they're doing that, they still have enough confidence to say no or not do something completely irresponsible or stupid? It's like, so did you instill enough at a young age for them to have the confidence to say like I'm okay? Maybe they say yes to the beer, but they're not doing shots after shots when they're 18 years old or in college even.
Right.
It's like, how do we instill enough of that confidence in them to where they can make decisions and be okay with people being like, well, I guess you're not that cool or fun. You're like, yeah, but I'm also not the one driving down the street getting in a car accident,
right,
endangering other people's lives.
I didn't drink. I might have had a little bit of alcohol in college, but that would have been like once and maybe twice. But I really didn't drink until I was probably like 23. Really, I had no desire. I had alcohol doesn't do anything for me like that. Like, I got my fix, my high. I scratched that itch by I was an adrenaline junkie. You know what I mean? Like, I needed to go fast. I needed to do stuff like that. And even like the peer pressure of other people like drinking, they would often be like, hey man, you want a drink? You want a shot? You want a beer? I'm like, no, I don't drink. And most people are respectful of that. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have 6 shots. All right, well, you have 6 shots and I'll drive you home.
Exactly.
You know, most people respected it. So I never really got that like that pushback from people of being like, oh, you pussy, you need to eat. You know, it's like, I never really had that. But I think everyone else also had.
But you also had enough confidence to say that.
Enough confidence to say that. But I think people had a different kind of respect for me just based off of kind of who I was in that social circle of like people. I just had a lot of friends. Everyone liked me, but I was seemingly always doing some cool thing or something neat that people were like looked up to that. You're like, man, he builds the fastest cars. Like, I don't care if he drinks or not. He builds the fastest cars or whatever the case is.
You know, so, whatever the correlation is when you're 18 and 20.
Whatever it was. But like, so I never really got that pushback.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, you know, really but even it, but you know, like, you know, talking about a kid when they're 13 and like, all right, everyone's going to go jump off this huge bridge. It's like, well, do you know the wall? Like, do you say, do you have the confidence enough to be like, well, that doesn't seem safe or smart just because there's an unknown that we don't know, you know?
Right.
No,
especially some random bridge. Now, if it's like a popular, like everyone in town
there's exactly. You know what I mean? That's what it's like. Just the confidence if you're just kind of running off where parents have no clue where you are and everything else. Yeah. You have enough intel. Like,
talk about
let's not throw the bricks at the gators in the pond if no one else is around. You know what I mean?
That's what I was doing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Enough confidence to be like
bricks,
beep, beep.
sticks, paintball guns.
Oh gosh,
all the things. I used to mess with alligators all the time.
I mess with them at way too young of an age. Now that I think about it, but
I know. We were in lagoons, like in
I'm like canoes. Kayaking around these lagoons with gators, and I'm like 7 and 8. I'm like, I might have had a life jacket on, but I'm like, you still a gator going?
Yeah, we used to go out and do all kinds of dumb stuff.
But anyways, in short, that's what it's like. Mine's still in enough of that confidence in them to make as good a decision as possible. But I think if you could lead by example, if you're around them enough, they'll pick up on it.
Yep.
Hopefully they won't lead by my nighttime example. Maybe that's why he's tantruming, because I'm throwing a big tantrum when they're tantruming.
Well, but they feed off of that. You know, it's almost like a dog where they like feed off the energy. You know, if you like Hans, for example, my psycho ass dog, who's like, if you come in there acting all nervous, he picks up on that and he's like, you probably ain't supposed to be here. I'm going to bite you. You know, so I mean, there's a lot more to Hans than that. But the people that he's met, that I've strategically had him meet, when they come in there with confidence or like, I'm not afraid of this dog, they kind of like, oh, well, he's not afraid of me, so I'm not going to like try him or whatever. And it just changes the dynamic completely when they can pick up on that type of stress or not stress or confidence or whatever. But like they feel the energy, and the kids feed off of negative energy and they feed off of positive energy. And like when I come home, I try to be super positive. I mean, like there's certain days where I can come home and bitch about something, but like, what's that going to do for them or my wife or whatever? And everyone now
the kids don't need to hear that too.
And everyone's just like in a bad mood because I'm like, the website broke. This is crap. Da da da. Or
what's been hard though is coming home, and if the kids have been like terrorizing mom in this case, and in my family dynamic, it's like I can't come in and be like, all right, well, let's go upstairs and play, because I'm like, all right, I got to follow whatever mom's already instilled at this point.
What's
so
happened
I'm looking at her, and she's just like, it's, you know, like shaking her head. I'm like, all right, I guess I got to be a mean dad, even though I haven't seen you all day. But it's like we're not just listening. You weren't listening, and this, so that you don't get to come home and just play, which stinks, because you're like, well, I haven't seen him. I want to hang out before we go to bed. But I'm like, well, I'm also not going to just completely undermine her.
Emily's like, don't be all nice to the kids. They've been bad all day.
Exactly. You're like, I got it. All right. So I guess you're going to come home. You're going to sit down. We're going to go. They're like, yep. Bath time's in an hour. I'm like, I know how good of a day we've been having. So no one's napped. Got it. You know, so
understood.
It's frustrating, but you got to be on the same page, or else you'll just undermine, and then now it's mixed messages to the kids. But you're right. Like I try not to express. Actually, I don't think I do it at all in front of the kids if something's frustrating at work or life or
they
whatever, that they might pick up on. We can have adult time afterwards. Shut the door, they're in bed, and then be like, let me tell you about my day. But, it's not trying to like hide it from the kids, but just, there's certain things that they're kids. They don't need all those worries. Try to separate it.
Yep.
As much as possible. So think about separation. So let's see, you're planning for King of the Hammers.
Yes, I'm separating from you for a few weeks. Yeah. King of the Hammers coming up. We, Travis and I leave on Sunday. Today's Friday for us. But by the time you guys are listening to this, we are likely there right now as you listen in Johnson Valley, California, which is roughly halfway between Las Vegas and LA in the desert in the middle of nowhere for King of the Hammers. In their centralized area for that they call Hammertown. And this is like a town that emerges out of nothing in the middle of the desert with like hundreds of thousands of people, race cars and trailers and RVs. And it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We're racing three Jeeps. I think we talked about this last week, but 3 Jeeps in conjunction with the Man Spot and Impulse Off-Road. Impulse Off-Road has built all 3 Jeeps. Man Spot's racing one. John and his brother are driving the other 2 Jeeps from Impulse Off-Road. And those guys are good. Like Vaughn is pretty new to racing and he does a good job, but he's no expert, by any means, but he does good. John and his brother are pros. I mean, they are like Ford Raptor driving instructors. They've been racing Jeeps forever. They finished the races, but both races last year very respectably, and like they know what they're doing. It's not their first rodeo, and
should be a good time.
So we have a good chance of finishing some races and with a reasonable pace. So we're excited about that for sure. So that'll be good.
Cool.
That's about it.
Well, then we'll wrap this up so you can get packing.
Yeah, I do have to pack up all this stuff. Cool. Well, guys, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Wish us luck in the desert, and give us all the thumbs ups, likes, comments, reviews, ratings, all the things that you're supposed to do with, stuff on the internet. We would appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.